Hey, what's up, guys? You're listening to the Airtime Misfits Podcast, episode 15. I'm your host, Adam, alongside Nick,
What's up?
and we have a special episode for you just in the nick of time. Oh,
Oh,
usually in our podcast episodes, we focus on a defunct coaster or a defunct park, which we're going to continue to do that in the future. But we thought it was about time that we let you, our listeners, know a little bit more about us and how
yeah.
we got into coasters, like where it all started, what are some of our favorite coasters now.
Yeah. So we're gonna spend a couple episodes talking about each other and kind of asking us each other questions, and
Yes.
we'll go from there.
Yes. So this is either going to be the shortest podcast episode we've ever done, or it could be
Or
the
it'll
longest. It
or it'll
depends.
be way, way too long.
Yeah. In this first episode, though, I'm going to be asking Nick the questions. So stick around. All right. So for those of you who have been listening to the podcast, for a while, then you've probably heard me mention how big of a fantis of Mantis Nick is.
Hell
He
yeah.
is he is by far the biggest fan of Mantis I've ever seen. It's kind of
Hmm.
gross, even
It
like
is
it's
a
an
little gross.
it's an obsession, but
I
it's
won't
cool.
even I
Yeah,
won't even deny that. Yeah,
yeah, you
it's
can't.
weird.
So, but I mean, Nick, he has a super impressive collection of Mantis souvenirs. Like I have to imagine he has almost everything that Mantis or Cedar Point ever created for
Hmm.
Mantis.
Yeah.
So meeting Nick for the first time, that's kind of like how I first came to know him as this guy that was obsessed with Mantis. But we're gonna go back even farther than that.
Yeah.
And Nick, so at what point, when did coasters and you just click? Like when did you fall in love with coasters and where at?
Ah, man. So my dad was in the Air Force growing up. So I was born in Alaska and I lived in Hawaii for the first 6 years of my life. And so, I wasn't really exposed to coasters at a very young age, but I
There's not
do
many
have,
coasters out there.
no, believe it or not, RCDB would have you believe that that is not the case. And I have to agree that is an accurate assessment.
Yeah.
Not much out there. And so I do have very distinct memories, specifically for Rendezvous Festival in Anchorage, Alaska. They do like a carnival every year. And so in 96, I rode my first dragon wagon. I was 3 years old. And I very distinctly remember, like, you know how they say, like, oh, you don't really remember things when you're like
Yeah.
younger than 5 or 6 or whatever. I remember this very vividly and like writing it and just kind of having a blast with that.
And
So
I
I rode,
believe, yeah, I was going to say, if you go to our Instagram page, I believe we posted
yes,
a photo of Nick on his very first
literally,
coaster ride.
yeah, that was my first coaster ride ever. Like, that is a historical piece of history for
That's
me.
a cool photo.
Historical
Yeah.
piece of history. Why did I
Yeah.
just say that? It all makes sense.
Yeah.
It's history.
Yeah.
um, yeah.
You just wanted to
So
emphasize how historical it was.
it's so old. I am
Yeah.
so old.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So the dragon wagon, that was my first exposure. And I remember being like younger and fascinated by all the cool, like, because in Alaska and Hawaii, obviously all you get are like carnivals and fairs and
Mhm.
things like that. So I remember being fascinated by rides like Zipper, Ring of Fire,
Yeah.
Chaos,
Yeah.
like all Super Sizzler, all those 90s flat rides, inverter, things like that would
Right.
travel. And I just was like, man, these things are like, the colors are cool. What they do is really cool. Like, I just remember being fascinated and like kind of obsessed in a way. If you asked anyone in my family, it was definitely an obsession.
Yeah.
So when I moved to Ohio in 99, I have a cousin that used to be a ticket sales rep for Cedar Point. And she, when she found out we were moving to Ohio, hooked my grandpa, my dad, and I up with a free ticket, just as like a welcome kind of thing. And let's face it, moving from Hawaii to Ohio is kind of a bummer. So they wanted to soften the blow a little bit.
Big difference.
Yeah, a little bit of a difference. So she knew I was really into coasters, and so she hooked it up, and I went, and it was love at first sight. Like, I obviously, back in those days, we didn't really have the internet. So she gave me a bunch of brochures, and so I was flipping through and like getting to know each of the coasters. She gave me some like media day packets for like old ones for like Raptor and Mantis specifically, and I remember just thinking, man, those look so cool. Again, like the colors, the way they do certain things.
That really had to blow your mind, not having
Oh
seen
my
anything
gosh.
like that in person before, and then going to the coaster capital of the world.
Yeah, exactly. And like, I only had brochures and park maps, and the year that I got all that material, Power Tower was new. So I remember having a lot of cool Power Tower promo stuff. And I was like, what the hell is this thing? This looks nuts. Like, it's like a tower that you go up and down. Like, it was just mind blowing to me.
It's a powerful tower.
It is a powerful tower. One might say that it is a tower of power. So so we went to Cedar Point, and it was just like I said, I was just hooked. And I remember specifically just from the brochures seeking out Raptor and Mantis, because as you recall, back in those days, those were the two biggest attractions at Cedar Point. Like, you had Magnum, you had Gemini, you had these other Mean Streak, whatever. But Raptor and Mantis, like in the mid 2000s, those were their marquee attractions.
Well, even because around then that was kind of the peak of the B&M coaster boom with all the inverts, and they were doing the hypers and the stand-up coasters. So I mean, that was their peak, I would say, is that time period, early 2000s through the mid 2000s even, and on. Obviously we still get the inverts and hyper coasters, but at the time they were kind of a new thing, and so if your park had one, it was really awesome.
It was a big deal. Yeah, absolutely. And so again, it was one of those situations where I was 6 and I was at Cedar Point. I was not 54 inches tall, but I obsessively thought about the day, in which I would be 54 inches tall, because all I wanted to do was ride those two, Raptor and Mantis. I was like, I don't care. I could get on Magnum, and I loved it. You had to be 48 inches. I do remember that. So I rode that, and it was incredible. Obviously, it's such a good coaster. To this day, it's just got a special place in my heart. But I specifically wanted to do the crazy upside down flipping corkscrews, whatever. I just really wanted that. And
you really wanted your nuts crushed too on Mantis.
I'm a bit of a sadist or masochist or whatever it is. I forget the terms, but I really just wanted to lose all fertility opportunities from a young age.
Right. Do you remember? So I know for sure Raptor has the test seat out at the entrance. Did Mantis have a test seat?
Oh yeah, and I spent a lot of time on that thing when I was young. Because I was like, if I can't ride it, I just want to simulate the ride experience.
Right, try the test seat.
Oh, I love the test seats. I would seek those out when I was younger, because it's like, man, this is the closest I can get. And I'll never forget. It wasn't my first visit, but my second visit. Because at that point I had kind of formed an obsession with Raptor and Mantis, but Mantis specifically. Like, I don't know why, it just was. And that's why when people ask, what about Mantis? This is so special. It was a terrible coaster. It's like, I know it's my favorite coaster, and I'll talk more about what is favorite versus my number one coaster.
Yes, because there's a difference,
big difference. And like, it was just my favorite. I clung on to it. It was something that I remember seeing in pamphlets when I still lived in Hawaii, and just being fascinated by the stand-up concept. And
the color scheme of Mantis is so attractive too. And
oh my gosh, it's so cool.
And Mantis, because I had the roller coaster book. I think it was just called Roller Coaster.
Yeah, I have that one.
Mantis was on the cover. Yeah. So I mean, it was just really, really cool looking.
Oh yeah, and that was honestly a big part of the draw, and just the kind of, I guess, unorthodox aspect of the stand-up feature was really interesting to me. And so my second visit ever, I was like, man, like I still can't ride it. I'm not tall enough, but I really want to like start thinking about it or collecting. And so I got one of those plastic freezer mugs, with the Mantis logo on it, and you
Yeah.
can put it in the fridge, and I'd fill it with chocolate milk or whatever the hell, and
Yeah, right.
and so I still have that thing to this day. But for 20 years now, I've been collecting Mantis stuff, and it's a weird thing. It's a very
Yeah.
weird thing, and I fully acknowledge it.
Is there a Mantis piece that you have not collected yet that you really have had your eye on and you're just waiting for the opportunity to get it?
Yeah, so several actually, believe it or not. In terms of like official store merchandise, there are a couple like pins, like
Yeah.
they're not necessarily enamel. They're kind of like a soft kind of poly. I don't know what kind of like plasticky material.
Yeah.
A couple of those. They made a charm, like for a charm bracelet, and not that I would ever use that, but like I just need that for my collection because I'm OCD. And and then well, you and Mark were at Coaster Mania 2015, where they sold out, or they didn't sell off the Mantis signs, but like they auctioned, raffled. That's right. Yeah. So anything, like if you're listening to this, and listen, this is a little bit of a pitch for you. If you're listening to this and you own any Mantis memorabilia, whether it was store merch or if it was ride signs, please message me. I will buy it. I don't care what the price is. I will buy it.
He'll buy it.
I will sell you my left kidney. Do you need a kidney? Do you need a healthy kidney? I've got you covered. Okay. Just make it happen.
Well, at that Coaster Mania, 2015, they did raffle off I think a couple like entry and exit signs of Mantis, and then I think they auctioned off the sign that like shows you how to correctly sit in the seat.
Yeah.
I think those were the big things. I don't know. It was really cool that they did that. I don't know if they've really done that since then, like with any of these other coasters that have gone away, like with Twister.
Not.
I don't know if they're going to be giving away any stuff.
I don't think they did anything for Mean Streak either.
No. Well, I think what they did end up doing was
they chopped it up and sold
they chopped
boards.
up pieces of Mean Streak, and they gave those away for free at Media Day. And then they end up selling the rest in the gift shop. Yeah,
that's right. Okay,
so that I knew it was
cool. Something related. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like I think one of the coolest things though to find and collect, though, if you can find it, is old ride signs or exit signs. I don't have any, but I know Mark, my partner in the chain lift, he's got some cool stuff. It's hard to find, but when you can find it, it's a really cool collectible.
Yeah, I've got some cool like signs that feature Mantis on them. Like I have a 2002 Golden Ticket Awards sign that like was displayed in the park that has Mantis on it. You've seen it. It's that huge full size, like it's massive. So that's one of my cool collection pieces. I've got a couple.
You recently, I was going to say, you recently got something pretty cool for your collection hanging on the wall behind you. The banner.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. That banner.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That was the 2002 Golden Ticket Awards. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you said poster. It's the banner.
Oh no, yes. It's a big old banner. Yeah. I have a couple other signs that were hung in the park. I have two that were at the old like ticket booths. I have one that says Mantis will open later today and Mantis is closed today. Those are my two ticket booth signs.
Yeah,
because back in the day, for all the little kids listening, back in the day, they didn't have this internet nonsense, okay?
No.
They didn't have an app. They didn't have anything that you could say, hey, I want to know if Mantis is open today. I'm going to look on my device. That didn't exist. You would go to the park and you would find out that day.
You'd show up and
Mantis
find
is
out.
open.
Right, yeah.
And at the ticket booth. And so if you made it up to the ticket booth and you were like, damn, Mantis is closed today, I guess I'm not going. See you all tomorrow. And you try again tomorrow, Yeah, those were the days.
Well, even back in the day before the internet, the only way you found out about new coasters coming to the park were commercials or like newspaper articles, like that radio, kind of stuff. Yeah. There was no, looking on the internet and watching it being built. And
I remember when like that kind of technology really, gosh, I mean, there was a little bit of that for Millennium Force.
I guess, a little bit, not a lot though.
No, my biggest
Top Dragster. Yes.
Yep. I remember watching the progress for that being built, and that was awesome. That was like state of the art.
That's the first one that comes to mind for me of like really like utilizing the internet to build hype
Yes.
for something. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And it really kind of brought a new kind of dimension of connection to what was being done there.
Sure.
So
I would say even the internet, like, not to speak for you though, but for me personally, like having the internet really built me into even more of an enthusiast,
oh yeah,
because you
getting
can,
on forums and
forums, you can, doing more research, following along, like for
yeah.
clues of like stuff that's coming. And
Yep.
yeah, but we'll get into me in another episode. It's not about me, it's about Nick.
Hey, come on, man. Keep the
Yes.
focus here.
So do you remember the first time you rode the Mantis coaster?
Yes. And actually, it was a lot later in life than I would have ever imagined.
Okay.
Because I was so obsessed with it from afar. And then I went through this period of time where I know you went through something similar, I think, where like for whatever reason, I was just afraid of coasters. I don't know why. Like it wasn't like because I was a daredevil when I was younger. I was like, I want to ride them all.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, when I was like, I don't know, 9, 10, I was like, no, I'm not. I'm afraid for some reason.
Me too.
And
Yeah.
I don't get that. Like, I don't know why that was, but I honestly didn't end up riding until I was like 14, 13,
Okay.
14.
Yeah.
Like way too late,
Yeah.
And I did ride it and I passed right out. I blacked out. I didn't even gray out. I blacked out. And I remember like just the tunnel vision and then
Yep.
like just powered off.
Yeah.
When it was during that first vertical loop, like after going down that pre-drop like dip after the chain lift and then circling around.
Yeah.
I was like, this isn't going to be fun. And I was like, all the disillusionment of years of wondering just flooded over me. I was like, oh shit. And so we went down the hill and immediately at the bottom of that hill, I don't know if it was the G's pressing against my legs or what, but I was out cold and I did not wake up until honestly it was after the dive loop. So the vertical loop, then the dive loop, and then I was finally coming back to my senses.
Right.
And then I could not wait to get off that thing. But you know what? I rode it every time I went because I was like, I've thought about this for so long. I just got to keep riding it.
Right.
So
yeah, I mean, that was kind of the reasons why I didn't care for Mantis all that much, just because it did
not a fun experience.
No, it was very forceful, and the standing up, all the pressure on my legs and my knees, it was just a bit much for me. And of course, crushing the nuts. That was fun.
But and the thing, like, if you frequented Cedar Point, you learned, especially if you were male, I should specify.
Yes.
You learned the methods.
Yes, you did.
You never lock your knees.
No,
ever.
Don't lock the knees. You got to keep your knees bent.
Yep.
I usually keep my head back.
Yep, head back, knees bent, and not like 90-degree angle bent. Like there's a way. Like honestly, you don't want to bend your knees too much because you want to have some room because then you're crushing your shoulders.
Right.
So it's just this happy medium of like, okay,
it's like a relaxed leg, sort of.
Yes. Yeah. How can I convince the ride op that I'm standing up straight, but really like I'm just not wanting to die? So
right. Yeah.
It's like it really is an art and not a science.
Yeah.
Like, you just got to find the right way.
Yeah, there definitely were tricks you could do to make it a little bit more enjoyable. Yeah.
Yeah. But if you locked your knees, A, you were passing out. B, you were absolutely getting your nuts smashed. No question.
Yes. So, and I know from, obviously we've been friends for a while, so I know the many stories that you have told me about going to Geauga Lake as a youngster.
Yes.
So I never got to go to Geauga Lake. I wish I did before it closed. So when you moved to Ohio in 1999, that was around the time when Six Flags had just taken over Geauga Lake, correct?
Yeah. So in 2000, Six Flags, it was sort of an exchange, right? Like Geauga Lake approached. Well, I guess this is later on in the timeline, but yes, Geauga Lake was struggling, so Six Flags came in and was like, "Hey, we got this. We'll cover it." The year after that, so they were Six Flags Ohio for 2000. The year after, for those that don't know, there was a SeaWorld across the lake, across Geauga Lake, and it did not have coasters or anything. This was before SeaWorld really cared about coasters.
Yeah.
But it was SeaWorld Ohio. And SeaWorld Ohio approached Six Flags and was like, hey, we'd love to buy your park. We're kind of thinking about getting into coasters. And Six Flags was like, you know what? We'll buy SeaWorld. We'll pay you a lot of money and we'll make it a big mega park. And SeaWorld was like, all right, cool. Money. We like
right.
it. So, yeah, that happened. And it became Six Flags Worlds of Adventure, which became the largest theme park in the world.
Right. In Ohio.
Yeah, in Ohio,
Right.
in nowhere, Ohio. Like
Yeah,
it was so far out of the way from like
a,
Cleveland, which is the major city nearby.
right. Yeah, it was it's not a great location. I mean, it's close to Cleveland, but to have
Yeah,
the world's biggest amusement park, you probably would want to be in Florida or California or somewhere with a higher number of tourism, but just kind of in the middle of nowhere, Ohio.
And not to mention, a large part of what brought the demise of Geauga Lake was its proximity to Cedar Point, which is the dubbed like roller coaster capital of the world.
Yeah.
Whether or not they have the largest coaster count, obviously they don't, but
yeah,
that's just what they're known for. They'll always be known for that.
Yeah.
So to try and compete with that market was really kind of dumb on Six Flags part. Like, I know they probably got a little big for their britches. Imagine that, Six Flags getting a little big for their britches when they bought Geauga Lake. But they rode it out for 4 years. And I remember going to Six Flags Ohio and World of Adventure, and it was fun. There was nothing really to write home about in terms of the experience. Like, it was just a cool park, definitely huge and a lot to walk through. But when Cedar Fair bought the park in 2004, everyone that knew anything was like, oh, well, we know what's going to happen. Like, the competitor bought the park, like,
and they're about an hour apart, a little bit over an hour.
Yeah, like hour, 45 minutes to an hour, probably.
Okay. Yeah.
Not far. Like, it was just kind of like, okay.
Because like Kings Island and Cedar Point, obviously those are like both 4 in Ohio, hours. But they're far enough apart. They both kind of have their own market with Cincinnati and Cleveland, and Cedar Point, I mean, draws people from Michigan and Canada. And definitely. Those parks can work, but Geauga Lake being, about less than an hour from Cedar Point.
It just wasn't going to work. It wasn't destined to be.
No.
And that was kind of like, anyone with foresight saw what was to happen. So, I will give the Dick Kinzel administration, as I'll call it, this, the old ownership of Cedar Point, Cedar Fair. I'll give them credit for giving locals 3 more years. We had 2004, we had 2005, I guess, so 04, 05, 06, and 07.
Yeah.
But it was a very abrupt ending, and I'll never forget finding out on the internet, hey, so Geauga Lake's just not going to reopen. It's September, and like, there are no final rides. There's nothing.
Yeah, because they didn't do any kind of, this is our final season.
Nope.
Like, was the announcement made after the park was closed for the season?
No, they announced it, like, if I remember correctly, it might have been a week, maybe even a month. Like, I don't even know if it was that long, but like, it was not long enough to, like, for me to arrange to go back, because obviously I wasn't driving back then or anything like that. So
yeah, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, it was a real bummer, and it really, honestly, like, I had so many good memories there. It honestly, it sounds pathetic, but it like took a toll on my mental health in a way, because like I was a freshman in high school, and that was the first like loss I had experienced. It sounds weird to equate that to a theme park, but I was like feeling the loss of that, and just the sudden nature of it. So it really kind of messed me up for a while. But
well, I think that was this, the same kind of case for a lot of people who grew up going to that park.
Yeah,
I know it was loved by the locals there. I don't think it was a park that drew people from all over the country the way like Cedar Point does, but I think it did have a strong, loyal following from people around there, around Cleveland and stuff. So
and it was,
people to this day are still pissed off about it closing.
Oh yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah. I mean, that has not died. The anger is there. I remember when they knocked down Big Dipper finally in 2016.
Right.
There was a huge uproar. But I really enjoyed that park. So I would have definitely still called Cedar Point my home park.
Yeah.
Just because I went there a lot more. I was a lot more involved there. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, Geauga Lake was a big deal for me.
So once you were kind of in high school, through high school, was Cedar Point or even Kings Island, was that something you would do every summer? Would you go to parks every summer with your family or with friends?
yeah, oh yeah. So I honestly didn't get to Kings Island until I was in college. It was just so far away
Yeah.
that we just never made it down there. Always wanted to, but I didn't really until I was old enough to drive. So yeah, we would go. My family didn't have tons of money growing up, so we would go the route of Geauga Lake mostly because they
Mm-hmm.
had
It's
insane deals.
right.
Like
Yeah.
you could go to Wendy's and get a coupon, and it was like 4 tickets for damn near $40.
Right.
And you got water park admission obviously
Yeah, that's
included.
awesome.
It was just like that was the deal. So we went to Geauga Lake a lot for
It,
that reason, but
it
I
was
would
just a more
go
affordable park. Better.
right. Like
Yeah, right.
if we were hauling my sister and like both of my parents were going, then we would
Mm-hmm.
all go to Geauga Lake. But I would still take an annual trip, mostly with my dad or with a friend or like a youth group to Cedar Point, just
Mm-hmm.
because it was a lot more expensive, but I could still find a way to make it happen. So
Right. Yeah. I'm kind of the same as you. Like with Kings Island, I didn't get there for the first time until I was definitely in my 20s. I mean, it was probably 8 years ago. Actually, the first time I ever went to Kings Island was the year Banshee opened,
oh
which
yeah,
was
2014.
2014. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So it took me forever to get there. And I went to Cedar Point, every year growing up. But
Hmm.
it really took me a while to, obviously I've loved coasters for a long time, but it took me a while to start like branching out to other parks. So like
Yeah.
my coaster count, was probably at, 40 to 50 forever. And until I
Yeah.
finally started branching out, then you'd go to
Hmm.
Kings Island, then you'd go to, all these Six Flags. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, I didn't start branching out to other parks in time to go to Geauga Lake.
Yeah.
I probably missed it by about 5 years or so where I would
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
actually gone to it. But yeah, it was just something that was just kind of a little bit too far for my family to go to coming from Michigan. So
Oh, definitely. I
yeah,
mean, it's on the other side of Cleveland. It's just
right.
out of the way. Like
Like
it
you
makes sense.
and you drive past Cedar Point to go there, so it just didn't
Yeah,
make
right.
sense for us to do that. So
See, and that was a lot of, I think, what killed it is it's
yeah,
like you got, people coming from the east and they're going to drive through like
well, like yeah, Chicago.
Pittsburgh
Yeah, if
or,
people from Chicago and Detroit, they're not gonna
no,
drive
they're
past
not
Cedar
gonna
Point,
overshoot. Yeah,
right,
no,
and drive an extra hour to go to a park that's not quite as good,
exactly. I
because they
totally get it.
they don't have the nostalgic feelings to Geauga Lake unless you're an
No,
enthusiast looking for coaster credits and new park
sure.
experiences. But for
Yeah,
a family, a general public family, they're not going to do that. So
no way. Yeah, I think that is one thing that I wish the original ownership of Geauga Lake would have considered is like, hey, if we don't try and figure this out, then this park will die because it
mhm,
is so close to Cedar Point.
right,
It really was a historical landmark of
right.
a park, but at that point, it was in such fierce competition with the most well-known park in the world. So
Yeah, I think it could have survived. I think it was just mismanaged, and I think they
yes,
try to get too big, too fast. They
yep,
spent too much money too fast. I
yep,
think if they had a focus of being a smaller park, like a Kennywood or a Knoebels or something like that,
they would have been great.
right, where there's not a lot of overhead, but you have cheap tickets. You're bringing in, the same families every year who have like
Hmm.
nostalgic feelings to come to that park.
Yeah.
I just think their focus got off the wrong path, and Six Flags kind of, screwed up a good thing.
Oh, well, typical fashion of Six Flags
Right.
there.
Right.
It's pretty standard, I would say, unfortunately. Oh, yeah,
Right.
they're really good at screwing stuff up.
So, like right now, what would you say some of your favorite parks to visit are in the country?
Oh man. Cedar Point will always and forever be number one, even though I've been there upwards of 300 times at this point. Um, I'll say a close second. I love Kennywood. I love Kennywood. Um, it's just like, especially in the fall, it's just a beautiful park.
Yeah,
It's got a lot of charm.
I've not been there in the fall, but I would love to do that.
Yeah, Phantom Fright Nights is really neat. Love that park.
Are you going this year for Phantom Fright Nights?
No, unfortunately, we wanted
Bummer.
to, but it's just it's just not going to work out. But definitely, in terms of charm, I would say Kennywood. I would honestly put Lagoon.
Yeah,
Just the charm of it,
I was really impressed with Lagoon. Yes,
Yeah,
Nick
yeah,
and I took a trip to Lagoon last year for the
about a
first time.
year ago. Yeah,
Yeah,
just a really cool park. All these family-owned parks, Kentucky Kingdom, I really like. I just love a park with good charm, even if the coaster count isn't like crazy,
mm-hmm.
or if they don't have anything like mind blowing. I still just love charm of parks, and I think that's kind of come with my age. Like I'm always seeking out credits, but now I have a family, and now I'm kind of like just looking for parks that have something to offer more than just coasters, if that makes sense.
Yeah, me too. Yes.
Your priorities kind of shift that way.
Yep, absolutely.
So yeah, those would definitely be some of my favorites. In terms of Six Flags St. Louis is gorgeous. I had never been there, but this year I went to St. Louis and over Georgia. Those are two. I mean, those two Six Flags parks don't feel like any other Six Flags.
I've not been to St. Louis yet, but I've heard good things, at least
It's
about like
great.
the view there and the atmosphere.
Yeah, the scenery. The only other two I would say that are also really nice are Fiesta Texas and New England, just in that they don't feel like that concrete jungle type Six Flags, because I just really don't like those. And that's why I'm not a big fan of Six Flags as a company, because each of those parks that aren't one of the ones I mentioned pretty much just feel the same. So
right. But I thought Darien Lake was your favorite park. That's what you were just telling me.
Darien Lake. Yeah. I didn't mention that because I thought it was just a given. Everyone should love Darien Lake.
Right. That's everyone's number one.
Mind Eraser is an easy top 5 for me.
Right.
No question.
I can't say too much bad about Darien Lake because I have not been there yet.
Oh, but you just wait.
Right.
It's a wonderful place.
Right. That's what I've heard. So I'll get there one of these years. That one and Great Escape. I have not been there yet either. So.
Great Escape's cool. I mean, we've talked about it. It's just like a resort. It's fine. It's cool to check out.
What are some of your favorites? No. What's your number one coaster, steel coaster currently? Maybe your top 3.
Okay. I always have a hard time with favorites because I just categorize them in my brain automatically. Yes. I would say my top steel coaster, like true steel, not hybrid, is X2. Either X2. No. I take that back. Phantom's Revenge.
Yeah.
No question. No question. X2 is close behind it just because it's a wild experience.
Yeah.
And then I would say my top hybrid, so I would just put that in its own category. You got steel, wood, and then you got hybrid. I think anyway.
Yeah.
Obviously, Steel Vengeance. I mean, anyone that doesn't say Steel Vengeance is just lying to themselves. And then I would say for wood, oh man, that's a tough one because there are some real doozies out there.
Yeah.
Honestly, I really liked Shoot. Was I thinking? You know what? I'm gonna say the Voyage for now. That'll probably change tomorrow, but I love the Voyage. It's fun.
The Voyage, yeah, that's good. I mean, those are all the coasters you mentioned are on a lot of people's top lists. So those are all, I think, universally known as being, the best. Yeah, so you can't really argue with those. See, now, as we mentioned earlier in the episode, there's a difference between your, number one coaster and your favorite coaster.
Yes, that's accurate.
Is Mantis. Is that your favorite coaster?
Always will be. Not my favorite ride by any means in terms of like, it's not, it will never compare to the Steel Vengeances and whatnot. Like people see my obsession with Mantis and automatically think, what a freak. He loves stand-up coasters, specifically Mantis, which was terrible. What's wrong with him?
Right.
It's like you got to understand that this is not me saying I loved the ride itself.
Right.
I did not love the experience. Okay. It was just a nostalgic thing. And people that don't understand nostalgia will have a hard time getting where I'm coming from. So.
Yeah. I 100% understand. And that's why, like, I don't get bent out of shape if I see someone's top 10 list online and, they have I don't know, Blue Streak as their number one coaster or
Yeah,
whatever.
right.
It's like, I mean, it's not my number one coaster, but I understand why someone might have some kind of nostalgic feeling towards it,
Sure. Yeah.
because who knows, it could remind them of their dad or, whatever, all sorts
Right.
of things. So yeah, I get it. I like a coaster experience is different for every person. I
Hmm.
guess if someone said like a Boomerang was their favorite coaster, I
I'd be a
might say
little, yeah.
something.
I'd be like, oh, okay, live your truth by all means, but like, also maybe ride some other rides.
Right. Yeah. I would just feel bad for them, but
Yeah. Hey, maybe you just haven't been exposed. Maybe you've been living at Great Escape, and that's been
yes.
your only experience. Which fair enough.
Yes. All right. So I think we covered most stuff. Before we wrap it up, though, let's let you brag a bit. What is your coaster count? Do you know off the top of your head?
Oh, hold on a minute. Hold on now.
You probably do you have a
I got a
spreadsheet?
list. I
Okay.
do absolutely have a spreadsheet,
Yes.
and here it is. Let me see. This might take a while to scroll through.
Because
Okay,
you do it yourself, right? Like you
I
don't use an
do.
app, you just
I
do like an
don't.
Excel spreadsheet type of thing.
It's just the best way I trust myself to do it.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
320.
320. Okay, that's pretty good. And
Soon to be 322 when I go to Camden Park this month.
yeah, awesome. And I think was it last year or the year before last year, you got like 100 credits in one summer or something like
Yeah,
that.
so
Like
so 20
insane.
2019. Thank God it was 2019. I didn't try to do this in 2020.
Right.
I hit 26 parks all over the nation. I started the year with 75 credits and ended with 235, I believe.
Yeah,
So it was
that's a lot.
something like that. So it was a good number of credits. And then last year I was able to get a good amount. We went to Lagoon, and we weren't even sure if we were going to be able to travel at all last year
Right.
because
Yeah.
of COVID. And yeah, so we got to go out to some cool parks that I'd never been to, wouldn't
Hmm.
have ever thought I'd get to, like Lagoon. And so hopefully next year is still good. And at this point, you and I have talked, like, we've been to so many parks together. It's just like, well, now we got to go to like Frontier City and
Right. Yeah.
Elitch and all these random small parks. So it's
Yeah.
like, okay, now
And
we got
then
to just knock them out.
yeah, we do because we've hit most of the major parks now. It's just kind of time to knock off the little parks. Is
Yep.
there off the top of your head, is there a park or a coaster that is like number one on your must-do list that you haven't done yet?
Well, new for 2022. I know you and I have talked about kind of planning a trip, but Defiance
Oh yeah.
at Glenwood Caverns looks amazing.
Yeah, it looks really cool. I'm
So,
excited to check that out.
not that a Gerstlauer really blows my mind
Hmm.
necessarily, but just the setting of it,
Yeah,
it just looks so crazy.
amazing. Yeah. I'm excited to check that out for sure. And
Yeah,
then park wise, is there any that you haven't been to that you're really looking forward to checking out?
Knobles.
Yeah.
Big time. Like I said, I love Charm. I know I've only heard you and Mark say incredible things about
Hmm.
it.
Yeah.
I've
Big fan
read.
of Knobles. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I just really can't wait to get out there because it seems like such a cool park. It's just in the middle of nowhere.
It really is. Yeah. It's close to Hershey Park if you want to kind
Yeah,
of
yeah,
lump it with that. But other than that, yeah, it's a long drive for us from, well, Nick coming from Indiana, me from Michigan. It's about 8 hours or so. So
yeah. Oh,
it's a long
easily.
drive. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, that covers the most about Nick. Hope you guys found that interesting. And if you did and want to share it with us, kind of your story about how you got into coasters, find us on Twitter or Instagram and send us a message or in the comments section. Let us know. If you haven't done so already, make sure you follow us on Instagram and Twitter and go back and check out all the old episodes of our podcast. We appreciate you guys listening. Check us out on airtimemisfits.com. We got some stuff for sale on there. All right, guys, we will see you in the next episode.